Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, we just had a busy day. This is my my work day as a Sunday driver. Get in my truck at early morning, take everybody to church. Of course, I'm the heathen, aren't I? So I don't actually attend services myself, but I support the church by getting everybody to and from the service. That includes loads of kids. And that's a fun job, I think. Well, anyway, one of the things that came up today, because yesterday we introduced Stephen to lovely May, who is the daughter of my brother-in-law, Pastor Timio. So we introduced them, and we put a video up where people saw them together, and they've been looking at lovely May and saying how lovely she is as per her name, and some saw her with Stephen and said, oh, that would be a nice couple. So they think that love is in the air, which may or may not be true. Who can say? I believe firmly that nobody ever really knows what's between two people, and sometimes I don't think that they know what's between them and another. So brings me to our friend who is always on our channel, commenting on this and commenting on that, and so we know him quite well, and that's our friend Sebastian. And Sebastian asked a question which is a never-ending question, because it's one of the things that's the most important aspect of everyone's life, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, no matter your color, race, creed, it doesn't matter. His question covers you. And that is, he said, tell me the secret. I think he was talking to me. And anyway, I'm going to take the question on anyway. He said, tell me the secret of choosing the right person to marry. So, I put the marry in myself. Choosing the right partner is his question. And boy, this is a loaded question, if ever there was one, because from the worldwide spread of divorce, myself included, it's one of the things that should be attended to in school, but it never is. It's never really attended to. The best we can come up with is that there's no manual for it. There's no how-to manual. Well, there are plenty of books written on it, and I've always often recommended one of the books that I find the most useful, and I'll repeat it here again, Barbara DeAngelis. I don't know the lady. I respect her as a writer and as a thought-provoking advisor on relationships, and she wrote a very good book called Are You the One for Me? And I won't go into that now because I've done it on other occasions. What I will go into is my own beliefs in what I've learned along the way, and believe me, it's been a rocky way. What are some of the things that I've discovered that I think are important? Well, I think that religion is quite important. I think it's, when I say religion, I mean beliefs, way of life. I'm not particularly religious. I'm not, and this causes huge talk. And that's my lovely wife that I think I chose wisely on. It causes huge speculation, that the fact that I won't say certain words, and so therefore, as a friend told me yesterday, I think, he told me I can't be saved. Can't be saved until I say those words. And there are certain words which supposedly are in the Bible, and it never quite occurs to anyone who is totally into the Bible that there may be another way of believing. So we won't go into the rights and the wrongs of the Bible, because what we're talking about here is the idea that you can choose the right one for you. Now, my parents made a decision that at the time was hugely controversial, back when they got married, which is about 150 years ago, I think. Actually, it's not, but you understand my sentiment, because they're long gone now. They had what was called a mixed marriage. Back then, it was a mixed marriage. One was a Catholic and one was a Protestant. What do you need, honey?
Just a charger, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Sorry, we're multitasking at the desk now. So, they had a mixed marriage, Protestant and Catholic. And this was so controversial and so divisive as far as their families, their respective families went, that they actually had, in order to be in love, get married, and successfully create a marriage together, they had to agree that they would each give up their families. And that's what they did. So I grew up not really knowing many of my many cousins, and I just didn't know them. Uncles, aunts, of which I actually must have had many, because it was an Irish family, and I never really knew many of them, because obviously my mother's family couldn't believe that she'd married somebody outside of her religion, and my father, his family, were the same. But they made that decision and they made that sacrifice in order to be together. Well, it lasted a long time, but finally, after some, I don't know, 35 years or something, they split. And after that, they never lost the loyalty to each other. And even though my mom, who was a gregarious, funny, attractive lady, and received a very firm offer of marriage from a man who could have taken care of her to the end of her days, she couldn't bear the thought that she would be disloyal to my dad, even though she couldn't live with him. So you can see that back then people had very similar choices to what we've got now, and some of them are not easily taken. So, religion. The best ideal thing is, if you can, even if you don't have the same religion, that you should agree to respect each other's ideas on whether things are created from the bottom up or whether they're created from the top down, which is God or a creator. If you're going the other way and thinking about the theory of evolution, it's wise to remember that the theory of evolution was a theory, and even the originator of that theory himself said that his theory could easily be disproved, because if you took, say, the human eye could not have been designed from the bottom up. In other words, going from a speck of dirt or a little tiny organism and then developing part of a body that was the human eye. So, but anyway, we won't get into that argument. You can see that the important thing is to be able to at least agree. And even if you can't agree and you're still madly in love with that person, at least you should respect each other's views. So, what about some real mechanics of a relationship? Do you talk the same speed? Now, why is that important? Well, if you don't talk the same speed, it means that you're not thinking at the same rate. And that can be a huge problem if you're a little bit on the impatient side, and if you're a fast talker and you're with someone who is a slow talker, then you may well have problems. If you look over to the person and say, "So, shall we go out for dinner, honey?" "Honey, excuse me, shall we go out?" "Oh, okay, yeah." you'd be insane by the end of the week. Somebody made that that assessment of Marlon Brando when he brought in his own style of method acting. They said, well, what's with all of the gaps and the pauses? I mean, why? Apparently, in one of his movies, as his part demanded, at one point he is asked his name, and he goes, well, it's only his name, for God's sake. He didn't know that. He wasn't being asked for the answer to the world problems. He was being asked his name. So it might be wise to get someone who speaks at the same rate as you. You know, going out to dinner, honey? Sure. I was thinking, yes, dear? Well, I was thinking that maybe we should go out to dinner. Well, let me see. Well, maybe that's not a bad idea. Oh, that's a relief. Thank you, honey. Those two people might drive me insane, but they probably are very happy. So, that's one of the little things that I think of, is speed of talk and the time lag between being asked a question and coming up with the answer. And we're not talking about the square root of the angle of the dangle. We're talking about ordinary things like, what's the time? Did someone knock on the door? Are you washing your hair? You know, ordinary, everyday things that you're likely to be asking all the time should have a reasonably similar rate of speed for that interaction. Now, as far as talk goes, you should actually be with someone who wants to, and I think that this is a fairly universal thing for everybody, no matter how fast you talk or how slow you talk, they should be willing to give 50% of the conversation to you. Because there's no fun in talking with somebody, having a conversation with someone who every so often you try to get a word in and you go, and you can't get, in the end you have to say, please draw a breath. No, I don't think that's going to work either. So get someone who can listen as well as talk. And remember that for yourself. Don't blab away as if you are machine gunning someone with words. There's plenty of time. You'll get time over a lifetime to share your ideas with someone. So relax. Let them have a go too. Okay, now the other. What have I written here? Respect your race and sex. Someone that you are in love with should respect who and what you are. If you're white, if you're black, if you're yellow. Actually, I never quite understood that thing about Chinese being yellow. I never saw a yellow Chinese, and I travelled a lot in China. Perhaps somebody should tell somebody they're not yellow. Okay? In fact, some of the Chinese I saw were whiter than me. Anyway, they should be respectful of you, your race, your heritage, your sex. And if you are with someone who thinks that all men are dogs, then you may be making a bit of a mistake. Now, I remember someone telling me that he had been, as part of his divorce adventure, he had been to a woman attorney who was very philosophical, and she said, I deal with a lot of men. She said, I find it very easy to deal with men. She said, they're not hard to please. All you have to do is let them get laid now and then, feed them, wash them, make sure that they've got a bed to sleep in, and, you know, just do that every so often. And I thought then, well, I would have been out the door if someone had said that to me, because I don't like to be treated like a dog. I don't want someone to pat me on the head. So, that's the other thing, to be respected. And don't marry someone who is part of a nation of people that you can't stand. If you're white, don't marry someone who is black if you can't stand the company of black people, because you're going to be interacting with a lot of them. And if you're black, don't marry someone who is white, because at the end of the day, for Thanksgiving or Christmas or birthdays or weddings, you're going to have to drag this white woman along with you, or white man, and you're going to have to, he is going to have to interact with your family. And if he doesn't appreciate the culture and the colour and the race of which you are part and have been brought up with, then what's the point? If he doesn't come along, and even though he may be different, he needs to be able, she needs to be able to find the good parts about the race from which you are from. So that's what I would say on that. So what else have I got? Shares, interests and goals. Now, if you get someone whose goal it is, when I was looking, I met an absolutely beautiful woman whose goal, it emerged, was to own a bar, and I didn't want to be the partner of someone who spent most of her time in a bar, even behind the counter serving drinks. I didn't want to, so that was out for me. And while I'm on about it, my distrust of people who are drinking does not extend to sitting at dinner and having an occasional glass of wine or a beer, as someone said. Someone, I think it was Forever Young or Forever 21 or something like that. Sorry, there's a lot of people write in. Said, well, so we're never going to be able to hang out because I like to have a beer. Well, that was never a problem for me. It was only when the I have a beer extended to the point where they were falling over. That was the I have a beer that I wasn't able to get along with. Plus, as I repeat, someone who gets smashed often is a time bomb waiting, and you might be caught in the blast. That was my idea. So, as far as a partner goes, you need to find someone who is equal in their desire or need of those other substances as you. I'm not talking about whether something is right or wrong here. That's a whole other subject. What I'm talking about is finding someone who makes sense to you. Now, if it makes sense to you to come home at the end of the day and pour a martini, always sounded so cool to me, and break open a beer and sit down and relax and chill and kick back and all those other wonderful American phrases, that always sounds wonderful to me. I just don't want to do it. That's all. I don't want to do it myself. So, the first thing that I said to my wife, I said, look, this is when we were at the texting stage. I said, I better warn you that I am an extremely boring guy compared to most people's idea of what is fun-loving. I said, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't use mind-altering substances, so no alcohol, no nicotine, and no recreational drugs. In fact, I don't even use prescription drugs unless I am so incapacitated they have to be forced into my nearly comatose mouth. So find someone who reflects those things, and you may be on the... You must like how they look. Now, we're not talking about beauty to the extreme, because there are no levels of beauty which are finite. There is not such a thing. What is beautiful to one person may not be to another. And so what are we talking about? We're talking about whether a person is beautiful to you. Now, if they're attractive to you when you meet them, or sometimes it may be a case of they're just not ugly. As long as they're not ugly to you, if you find them ugly, you're not going to be there anyway. But if they're reasonably attractive to you, then as you learn to appreciate other things about them, then your love will grow. And I believe that that's the case. I've been attracted to many people who are not the most beautiful in the world, and I found something about them which appealed to me. So they should look good to you, never mind what anybody else says. Now, you should like how they look, you should like how they taste, because you will be tasting them. Let's face it, you put your mouth to theirs, you kiss them on the cheek, you're going to be tasting them. They should smell in a way which is appealing to you. Now, I had friends who said that they had girlfriends who, when they got home from work on a building site, and were all sweaty and a bit grubby and everything, and it really turned the woman on. So all tastes are really different, and your task in choosing a partner is to find someone who finds your particular tastes to be attractive. So, need to have how they look, need to have how they taste, how they smell. Now, I'm not talking about what kind of cologne they use or what kind of perfume they use. I'm talking about them. Stick your nose into their flesh. Are they a smell which you don't mind? And the other thing is that you should like the way they look and move. If they move along like a drunken robot and you are a former ballet dancer, that's probably not going to work. But if you have similar ways of moving, then that would be the ideal. You need to like how they look with their clothes on and with their clothes off. So you need to have you need to find it appealing how they look naked. That's without getting too near the mark here. You need to know those things. So my feeling on how people look and whether they're attractive to you is, I remember years and years ago when I was desperate to find, I arrived in America, I was a single parent for too long, and of course I was online looking, because that's the easy thing. You can put your kid to bed upstairs and then you can go on the computer and you can look at pictures of people who are probably doing exactly the same thing. And I remember that one woman who was anything up to 100 pounds overweight getting in touch with me that she found me attractive, and I said, no, I don't think that would work. I don't think I'm being as tactful as I could. I said, I don't think I'm the one for you. And she pursued it, and in the end I said you would be of a different weight category to me, and she still pursued it, and I said, look, I'll be like a stick insect next to you. We'll look like the number 10. It has to be, I think, a similar weight or falling within certain parameters, right? So the woman may be a little bit overweight or a lot overweight, as long as it's okay with you, as long as you find it attractive. I find my wife very attractive because she's very, very slender, and that's what attracts me. Now, I've spoken to her about it, and she said that she could have found someone who was a lot heavier than me and a lot bigger than me, and she could have found them attractive. Whereas, so even my viewpoint on this is to be taken only as my viewpoint. So, the last thing that I think is very important, is super important to me, and that is all of these things can be overcome if the attraction is enough. But one thing that I think has to be, and that is your partner has to be, and this includes you being a partner to someone else, has to be positive. If you get stuck with someone who is of a negative viewpoint, boy, that's a tough one, and you will have problems, because the negative personality is one who will constantly need to be buoyed up. They'll constantly need constantly defy your efforts to see life in a very positive way. You go in there and say life is good, they'll say, yeah, tell me about that. Well, it won't be long before you're down in the mud with them. But that's only my viewpoint. So, religion, talk speed, a listener as well as a talker, the time lag, knowing how long it's going to take, not waiting a fortnight to find out what the time is, respect for your race and sex, sharing interests and goals so that you're both headed in the right direction. I think under the religion and all of that, I think that it comes also with, I think that they should be on some kind of path, but that assumes, of course, that you are. If you're wandering around lost in a daze, then maybe that doesn't matter to you, but it's extremely important to me that someone be on some kind of path. So, that's my take on religion, on relationships, I should say, and how to choose a partner. And you have to be able to work out how all of these fall into place. And good luck on that, because it's never been easy. It's not easy right now. And one of the things that always saddens me, because of what I've learned over my extremely mistake-strewn life, is this: you have to at least be striving to be honest, loyal, and true. And many people think that that's preaching, and that is really sad. So, honest, loyal, and true. That's what I would expect from my partner. That's what I expect from my wife and friends, really. So, in order to expect that, you have to try to be that. And that should set you on a path.